Yes.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. I hope you are doing great. And how is your weekend going? I hope you're excited that today is Friday because I am, and I'm sure Nelly is too. So, today, welcome to another session on our children, their safety. Today, we are talking about a very important topic. And the topic is, in fact, before I even start the topic, let me ask you a question. Can our children actually respect us without being afraid? That is a very simple question, but it comes with some stuff that we're going to be talking about today. So yes, for anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Peggy Barre. I am the founder of Arise and Thrive Academy, a survivor empowerment coach, and a domestic abuse practitioner. Let me pass it to Nelly to introduce herself, and then we can roll.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session. Our children, their safety. My name is Nelly Kwasungwe. I'm a social worker, transformational life coach, and founding director for Hand in Hand Community CIC. Welcome.
Okay, so Nelly, today we are talking about a topic where we need to talk about respect and fear. And I know it's something that sometimes as parents we can be very confused because we don't know which one is which and whether which one is our child practicing. So today we are going to be talking about it because sometimes we feel that our children are respecting us when they're actually afraid of us. And sometimes we think our children are afraid of us when they are genuinely respecting us. So, how do we know the difference? Because knowing the difference is going to transform your relationship with your child and transform how you relate with your child. So, I don't know, Nelly, do you want to maybe have something to say on that before we can kind of start looking at our points and then we discuss and just share our own perspective on this?
Yeah, I think coming from our background, I think this is even general. There is the saying that respect your elders,
Yeah.
which has gone on for so many generations. But now we are seeing that things are changing. The respect is in a different perspective.
Mhm.
And sometimes I question why children or why the younger generation do not consider respect the way we were brought up. And then it
Mm.
takes me back to this question. Did we respect out of fear or did we respect out of love? It is conflicting because sometimes parents used fear as a
Mhm.
method of control or respect.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
most parents do not even know the difference between respect and fear because
Mhm.
they feel that they are the same because they want
Yeah.
obedient children.
Yeah.
So it has so many interlinking ideas that I think today we will try to separate them and most especially look at fear and respect and whether
Yes.
our children can respect us or respect parents without being fearful.
Absolutely. And this is the thing that, and we're talking, and I'm sure some of the things that we're going to talk about today, we've mentioned it in our previous videos. And we always say that things like this is more of reinforcement, because if we go back, just like you mentioned, if we go back to certain relationship, I will remember when I was growing up, the relationship with especially those parents or those elders or your uncles and aunties, the ones that you know that they were really, really, in fact, if you said no, they were going to beat the very life out of you. And in that situation, when you grow up in that kind of environment, you're not even, it's just now that I'm thinking as well, was it really respect? Was I really respected out of fear? or was I really respecting out of love, or was I being fearful, And honestly, those relationships, most of those relationships, yes, majority of them we respected out of fear, or I'll say there are certain times that you respect out of fear, but then you see that those relationships are not deepened. That parent-child relationship are not, is more like a shallow, because whatever thing you're doing as a child, you're doing it, whether it goes against you, they don't really care about how you feel as a child. You yourself, you don't even care in yourself how you feel as a child, if at all you even knew what it even meant to feel as a child, so for me, it feels like they were creating that sense of fear, and that sense of fear leads to insecurity. And of course, I'm sure you, as a trauma-informed coach, you will beginning to even discuss how those behaviors or that type of respect actually affected children, or how it affects children in the long term. So, which I think is very important, so that us as parents today, because the generation have changed, tradition have changed, things have changed. And so we need to actually move from that mindset of fear, and then start developing a genuine relationship with our child, where our child respect us, not because of fear, but they respect us because they understand what respect is, and I think that is so important.
Yeah, the damage. Okay, let's say the damage has been caused. We cannot now expect our children to respect us when we know that damage has been caused through the way we have reinforced them to respect. Because
Yeah.
sometimes children respect elders, but then
Yes.
majority of the society, they will listen to what the adult or the elder says, ignoring
Yes.
what the child is talking about. And
Mhm.
in that way, that child, knowing fully well that probably the elder who had been disrespectful to that child has told them, if you tell, no one will listen to you, which is
Yeah.
obvious because that's what the society practices. The, uh, those in the community will listen to the elder and not the child. But then
Mm.
no one understands from the child's perspective what had happened between them and that elder. So then this child, feeling that they cannot respect that elder, but they have to pretend. So the
Yes.
damage continues, which for me, I feel society, when a child starts disrespecting, let's not start judging that child, because that's a common practice that parents do. Start
Yeah.
judging the child that the child is being disrespectful. The child might be disrespectful, but what is the source? What is the root cause
Yeah.
of that child beginning to disrespect anyone? Which
Yeah.
that is where we need to start looking at. So now is to change the way we've been dealing with things, because honestly, sometimes the adults, the elders, their behavior is, uh, I don't even
Yeah.
know the word to describe it. It's
I know.
unbelievable.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And then the funniest thing is that when they do like that, when I'm not saying that, when we do like that as parents, we are expecting our children to do otherwise. We forget that what we're doing, the way we behave, the way we are coming across, is a message we're communicating with our children, or to our children. And they are gonna, in a way, respond to the same message that we are sending out to them and giving them, and it is hard. It is very hard. Unfortunately, the society now is hard for even parents, especially us that we grew up in that generation where respect was more of fear. It is very hard to even watch our kids today, or to come to that level, say, you know what, I'm going to relate with my child on the same level, right? Relate with them in terms of, I got to understand them. They've got to understand me. I need to respect them so that they can respect me. Respect is reciprocal. Yes, it does not take away your responsibility or your right, or that upper right as a parent, but the fact that you are a parent does not also give you that right to say that you're going to just trample on your child just because you want them, force them to respect you, even when you're not projecting the positive mindset or the positive, or you're not projecting an example that they should look at you and say, you know what, I've got to respect my parent because of A, B, C, D. If that makes sense, Nelly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Respect. Looking at respect from the older generation, respect was something that was being demanded, commanded.
Yes.
But
Yes.
respect is based on trust, good relationship, and the way parents look at respect is they want their children to be obedient, to say, when they tell a child, stand here, the child just needs to stand there. To some
Mm.
parents, that's being respectful because the child obeys.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, that relationship between the parent and the child is very shallow because the child knows that their parents are parenting from a place of, if they don't obey, there is a consequence, there's a punishment. So because
Yes.
they want to avoid the punishment, they will obey while the parent is there. But then
Yes.
when the parent is not there, the child
Yes.
finds a way to be them their true selves.
Yes.
So then you have that different personalities. They show different personalities depending on the situation they find themselves. So then the parent will feel that they have an obedient child because the child does what they ask them to do and things like that. And like I have spoken to so many young people, and they
Mm-hmm.
say that my parents did not understand me. And it's so
Mm.
heartbreaking to hear that because they say the parents provided everything,
Yeah.
but that emotional connection was not there. And some of them have told me that when they were younger, they didn't even know what they liked doing because at home, their parents were so strict.
Yeah.
They told them they had certain things that they had to do. Some of
Yeah.
them said they didn't know what it meant to feel relaxed or calm. Because at home, if you had nothing doing, the parent will say, you are lazy. You had to be doing, probably reading a novel or something like that, but you had to be doing something. So to
Mm-hmm.
them, they didn't even know what it meant to relax or just to be calm or, like just sit and do nothing, even for a few minutes.
Yeah.
So when parents impose their own narration, like you talked of projecting, yes, parents project their insecurities, the ways they were brought up onto their children without even understanding from the child's own viewpoint. But
Mm-hmm.
then they expect respect. That child is holding on to something that they just want to speak out or for the parent to understand them. But then, if the child just does what the parent wants, the parent will feel that the child is respecting them. But like you said, respect is reciprocal. The
Yeah.
parent respect the child respect the parents as well. And when parents are role models, the children just pick up on that and they do it. They respect the parents and the parents respect them. But when it's one-sided, it's really hard because there are some damages that are caused that parents, they don't do it intentionally
Mm-hmm.
because they are relating to the way they were being parented. So like we've always talked about, there's so much learning for us parents to meet up with the changes in the world now.
Absolutely. And this is what sometimes, Nelly, you see a child is different from home and a child that is different from the outside. And you, as well as a parent, you will hear sometimes that your child outside has done something and you yourself, you're shocked. Like, that is not my child. I didn't raise my child in that way. And sometimes you feel like, what happened? But this is the thing where we are forgetting that our child is putting a persona or a personality, a different personality at home to suit us, but out there, they are putting a different personality. And the reason is because maybe we have not really taught them the value of respect. And first of all, when we're talking about respect, first of all, what is respect? You know, what is respect? And what are the values behind that respect, which I feel that sometimes rather than just let them grow and understand and say that, know that if mom or dad says A, it's A. Or if mom or dad says B, it's B. But we haven't really sat down to, like you said, because we don't actually have the time to get to know our children. We haven't sat down to explain to them, say, hey, the reason why I want you to choose A is because of A, B, C, D. Or B because of A, B, C, D. So that when we are not there, it is not they're going to understand that, hey, I cannot do this thing because of the consequences, not because anybody is going to hit me, not because anybody is going to, but because of the fact that it's a moral, how do you call it? Moral duty not to do this thing because it's not right. So I just feel that like you say, this is why as parents, and we still learning, Nelly, this is why as parents sometimes we need to actually sit down and build that rapport, build that relationship, and even ask the questions. What do you feel? Do you feel like, how do you feel? Do you feel like you're doing whatever thing you're doing out of respect or out of fear? Because it's okay to ask those questions so that we kind of get a perspective of what our children get their perspective, so that, like I say, when we know, then it will reshape our relationship with our child. Because if I know that my child is respecting me out of fear, and then it's telling me that, hey, that means haven't done well, I need to step back and make it in such a way that they can understand why they don't need to do that thing. And I'll just share a little bit of story, Nelly. I had one of my uncle who was a disciplinarian. When I say disciplinarian, he did it out of he was I wouldn't say he did it because of he was wicked. It was just his own way, maybe his own upbringing. That's how he was brought up, and then he went into military, and they had that military lifestyle and all of that. Oh me, if when we heard him, just his car parked outside, everybody is taking position, even his wife. Everyone is taking their position, because if you don't, you know, but then, so you will see when he's not at home, that's when you see everybody feeling relaxed. And then when he comes back, everybody is on edge, like walking on eggshell. But then you see down the line, you'll be expecting that, okay, maybe down the line, children who are grown up in that type of home will, but then I could tell that it really affected especially the children, because well, some of us we grew and then we moved out of the environment, but you could tell that it affected the children in such a way that even now, even the children being adult, they cannot even make judgment for themselves. They cannot even decide for themselves, you know. So again, this is something that we really need to try and refrain from it, and see how the healthiest way that we can as parents, so that it doesn't damage our children.
Yeah, and I know you've gone to our first point where we're differentiating between fear and respect, but
Yeah.
I think what you are saying is right. But I feel that you have talked about a second step before the first step, because let's remember where we're coming from the
Yes.
Afro-Caribbean community, where you cannot tell a parent to even discuss or even have a conversation with their child on respect or about respect,
Mm-hmm.
because the parent feels that, like you talked about your uncle, they are doing it out of love because of the way they were brought up. But
Yeah.
then do not realize the impact it's having on the children. So it's to take a step backwards and, first of all, to let them become aware of some of the behaviors that children will display, for them to start thinking that, but why is this child behaving differently when they are outside,
Mm.
they are inside? Sometimes a parent, like you talked about your uncle, when you hear the sound of his car outside, every child disappears. To some parents, they feel pride that their children is respecting them, but
Mm.
that we see that's coming from a place of fear, because then
Mm.
that relationship is not there. But to some parents, that is what they see as being respectful, that their children are respectful and obedient, because they tell the child what to do and the child does exactly what they have been told to do. And just
Mm.
relating to what you've talked about, I have seen where like children are with their parents and they grow up. When they go to university, a lot of the times, that's the first time they have liberty. They move out of their home. They find themselves like in open space. But unfortunately, they did not develop those skills, those social skills. So
Mm-hmm.
they don't know how to control themselves,
Yeah.
because they are at university, they are in their accommodation, they have
Mm-hmm.
free time, they control what they do. I mean, some, okay, like when you start uni, you have the what do you call the introductory, what do you call
Is it the
the first
induction?
week uni,
Crochet.
freshers, you have the freshers
Freshers.
week. They just
Yeah.
they just I would say they just use themselves the way they can, because they don't know how to compose themselves. They were not taught how
Yeah.
to behave, how to manage themselves. So it can be easy for such children to easily go astray when they are out. So
Mm.
there are some behaviors parents need to take a step back in a way to bring the child closer. It doesn't mean that the parent is losing their respect or
Yes.
responsibility. No, it isn't. It is creating that emotional connection with our children, because when you look at it, a lot of children do not have emotional connection with their
Yeah.
parents, which is it's sad. It's sad, but you look at the parents, they don't have a clue. You look at the child, that's something they crave. They just want to be listened to by their parents. You know, when parents get involved in children's lives, it feels very different, because
Mm.
children look up to their parents as role models. But then, if you are not a good role model, what do you expect from the child? They always feel that gap within them, which is why you go down to like relationships. It really impacts children when they get into relationships, because they
Mm-hmm.
always think that there's that fear that, oh, if I open up, this person might not even be ready to listen to me because their parents
Mm-hmm.
have done that. They might not even be thinking about it that way, because all that information is in their subconscious mind, and it's not something that they are doing it intentional. It's just
Yeah.
how the mind processes things. So I
Yeah.
think if we can look at give more examples of
Mm-hmm.
certain behaviors that children can display, that to let parents become aware that when they
Yeah.
see their child behaving that like the ways that we will explain, they need to start questioning themselves and then questioning their parenting, questioning their relationship with the child, and how
Mhm.
open the child can be with the parent.
Absolutely. Okay, so if we are we have you got some point at on the fear difference between fear and respect, and then maybe I can leave you to roll on the
Yeah, you've talked about like when the parent is coming in. That's an example. I won't repeat that again. The
Mhm.
child will avoid honest conversations, and the
Yes.
child would lead to lies telling. Like you hear sometimes a child, you might even see a child do something that is wrong, and you ask that child, the child will just look at you in the face and refuse and just tell you a lie, or
Mm.
just come up with a story. It's because they are avoiding to say what they have done, because they know there will be a punishment behind that, and they will always hide their mistakes. So then they
Mm.
won't be able to learn when they make any mistakes. Um, they find it difficult to express their opinions because it is linked to the lies telling. Because if you tell lie number one, you need to be very mindful. So you tell lie number two to tie in with lie number one, and you continue. And imagine it's so hard to be consistent with your lies telling because at one point you will trip yourself up. And then there's the anxiety in making decisions, just like we talked about your uncle's children. They find it difficult to make decisions because they doubt themselves, because that's how they've been their whole lives, doubting themselves. Because when they find themselves in a decision-making position, they start thinking, if I do this, it might be wrong. It might be wrong. You know, that self-doubt, because probably that is how their parents have been making all the decisions for them, and they feel that they need to rely on someone to make a decision for them.
Mm.
So those are
And
some
this
of
that
the
that brings
points.
yeah that brings me that just kind of just before I jump on that actually I think we've talked about this one before where we say that sometimes you hear parents sometimes feel like yes, it is our duty as parents to kind of guide our children in terms of certain decisions, but we forget to give them that leeway to make certain decisions and just let them fail in it. Because leaving them fail in it and then learning from it is actually a lesson from them. But sometimes us as parents, because we're too overprotective, we do not give them that chance to make that decision and fail. So I think that is one of the things that I've seen so many parents that they'll make to the minute decision that like they'll tell her, if I don't make the decision, I don't trust that child to. But if you don't let the child make it and fail, how are they gonna learn? So this is one of the things that is very important that we need. Yes, we want to guard them, we want to really protect them, we don't want to hurt them, we don't want them to make decision that is going to hurt them, but by them hurting, it's a way of building that resilience and learning from it as well.
Yeah, and you've talked of trust and wanting to overprotect our children. We know we all learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
Children are adventurous, but
Yeah.
then when parents overprotect children, they limit the children's creativity. So
Yeah.
they're just focused on the same thing that they have been doing. And then they don't want to go out of it, which really narrows the child, how they can explore around, which that's something that as parents, we need to start taking some steps back. Yes, let the child make the mistake and fail. Failure
Mhm.
is not that they are bad, it's just that they took the wrong decision. But then they are failing forward because if they want to do that same, if they want to make that a decision for similar situation, they won't repeat what they failed. So they've learned that that decision they took previously is not working. So then they will try another method. They might try several methods until they get to one that works. So it's not to say failure is bad. And I
Yeah.
think it is for parents to change the narrative of failure, because failure, the way when we're growing up, the way we knew failure to be is not the way failure is seen in today's world.
Yeah.
Because when a child failed at something, the punishment, the consequences was bad. So then you always want to stick to just like you talked about, walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
You just want to be walking so you don't make a mistake. But imagine if you keep doing that, you are just being so narrow. And I just feel that that is why a lot of people now, they really struggle, because they say they want to do only the things that they have been doing. Why? Why?
Yeah.
We are in a world that so many different things. We have different experiences that different things that happen. But then we are just so narrow-minded to focus only on the things that you know. What about the others? Who are there to try the other things that are out there? So again, these are some of the consequences that parents might not think about, but then it will really impact the child.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, what was the next point, Nelly? Where
And then
we
just before, so okay, we've talked about the respect aspect, the fear aspect. Now, if we
Mhm.
look at the respect, what
Yes.
does it look like? So, research shows that children do best when they are disciplined, when discipline is paired with warmth, consistency, and clear expectations. Let your
Mhm.
child know what they are expected to do. When the parent says, do this, and the child says, why? Is for the parent to explain. Though a lot of the times parents will get upset that this child is just being naughty, just trying to upset me by asking why. But no, it's because our children are so curious. They want to know why. So explain the why. It will help them to understand and to want to do that thing better. And
Mhm.
true respect looks like the child feels listened to when the parents talk to them and the parent is present.
Mhm.
The child will value family rules and boundaries. It goes back to something that you talked about.
Mhm.
If the child knows that, if the child feels respect for themselves, they will not be eye servants.
Yes.
Because whether the parent is around or the parent is not, the child's behavior will be consistent.
Mhm.
Unlike when the child is with the family, their behavior is different. And when they are out of the family, their behavior is different.
Yeah.
So we need to be mindful with that as well. Children will feel comfortable asking questions because they know that's how they learn if they ask questions.
And that is so true. And one thing again is that if the children are in a safe and respected environment, or they've been brought up in that environment where there is nothing off limits to talk about, right? They will likely, if they get into trouble, they will likely run to you to tell you. And they will tell you in such a way that they're not going to be panicking. Like, and again, like we say, Nelly, it is, they would have been learning this from us as well, that if we make mistake, we should come and say, you know what, hey, I messed up today. I messed up today because of A, B, C, D. And let us be able to discuss that our mistake that we've made, without making it look like it's the worst thing that has happened. Mistakes do happen. So if we create that environment, then yes, when they make their own mistake or they made a mess in their own way, they will likely have to come back and say, hey, mom or dad, you know what? Something happened today. I made a mistake, or what, this thing happened. And they will just express it, you know. And that is how you will encourage them to talk. And that open communication. And just like you mentioned earlier, if we don't build that open communication, it will be hard for them to open up, to open up. And when they don't open up, we as parents, we feel it, we start walking on eggshell, because you're looking at your child, you're thinking that, what is my child thinking? What is my child doing? What is you're second guessing, because you don't actually know what they are doing. Because there are sometimes, honestly, even though I know my son will likely always come back and say, you know what, this thing happened. And even when he goes to school, there are sometimes that he goes to detention when he goes and mess up in school, and then I always see an email that your child, when he comes back, I always call him, and I'll say, what happened today? He'll just explain. He'll say, this is what happened. Yeah, at the end of the day, we'll still have that conversation. Was that behavior right? I will ask him, do you think what you did was right? And he himself, sometimes he'll say, no, you know, I shouldn't have done that. So that is a mess done. Nobody, no, he didn't kill anybody. It's about having that conversation and say, hey, these things like that. So, and there are some days that, like the other day, I heard him typing his, touching his key. Every time I hear his keypad going, in my head, I'm just thinking that he's playing games. He's on game. And this is the time they're preparing for mock. And I heard keyboard. I was like, Why are you still on your game? Why? And he said, Mom, I'm not. I said, you are? He said, I'm not. I said, why is your keyboard? He said, I'm typing my assignment. So it's that thing that, again, you now as parents feeling at that moment, I felt like, I was working on just second guessing, because again, there are times that as parents, even you yourself, you feel like I don't trust what my child is saying. But our children is teaching us that, hey, I can be respectful. I can be doing the thing. I know what I need to be doing. Trust me that I can do what I need to do. Trust me that I know that my mock exam is coming. I can study without even you telling me to study. So it is that level of trust that we as parents as well need to try and make sure that we trust our children, because when we trust them, we give them some respect, and the more we respect them and make them know that we trust them, the more they will want to do that thing that is right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, when you were talking about the studying, I was just laughing because I had that same issue with my son because even right now he's there playing on his. Sometimes I don't know whether he's playing or he is studying. I don't know because, like you said, that trust, I've just left him to it because
Mhm.
it took me a while. Because anytime he goes and I just hear him talking, when he is talking, in my mind, I knew that he was playing his games.
Mhm.
But then he said he was revising. And I was like, how can you be talking and you say you are revising? Because he, I mean, he'll just be talking. And then
Yeah.
sometimes in my head, I'll be hearing him like he's talking about game. But then he'll be like, no. So anyway, it's his own way of revising. He has a group of friends, and that is how they
Mhm.
revise. They are in the same class. They
Mhm.
are they play their games online together. They play football together in the same team, so they're always together.
Mhm.
So they will do that. So, okay, I was made to understand because it was just above me. I had to ask my older children. I said, I don't know if this your brother is studying. And they were like, oh no, mom, that's fine. That's how we do it. I'm like, oh, just talking and talking. He said, yes, that's how. So what he does is, or what him and his friends does is, they will agree on a time for
Yeah.
study time. They will study for a bit. So someone will be reading and they will discuss. So that's when the talking comes about. And then they'll take a break, play a game, and then go back. So I was like, okay. So I said, because I've been reminding him too much, you know your exams, you know your exam. And
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, it's up to you now. I've done my part. I won't be waking you up because
Mhm.
sometimes he would, this was before his mock, he would
Mhm.
play until, and then he will sleep late. And then he
Yeah.
will struggle to wake up in the morning. But it got to a point I said, I won't be waking you up every morning. It is
Mhm.
your responsibility. Take that responsibility. So to sort out you struggling to wake up in the morning, you need to go to bed early. What
Yeah.
time is your early? So you wake up at a certain time because he would put his alarm. He had like 5 alarms in the morning. And the saddest thing is, all the 5 alarms will go off. Everyone at home will wake up except him. But then, when I put that rule and I made sure I was stuck to it,
Yeah.
now that's not an issue with me because he sets his alarm. Sometimes now he even wakes up before his alarm. So again, is down to having those conversations, building those trusts. You cannot tell a child or someone, trust me. No, it doesn't work like that. Trust
Yeah.
comes naturally. How you relate, the consistency. You say you do what you say you would do and not say
Mhm.
something else and do something else. Consistency is something that builds up naturally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that we need to also understand that as parents, respecting without respect, when our children respect us without fear, that doesn't mean that they lack boundaries. Because I know that sometimes we as parents may be feeling like, no, or another parent that may walk into that house and see the way you're relating with your children, they may be thinking that, oh no, you are not setting boundaries. You're just letting your children do anything that they want. No, you are, in fact, you're setting boundaries, because at the end of the day, your children still need rule. They need rule. They are doing it in a healthy way. They know that this is what I have to do. And when it comes to it, they will take that initiative to do it without you screaming and shouting, down their throat to do it. And children still need discipline, and children still need accountability, right? But we need to understand that discipline does not have to be rooted in intimidation, because our children can still be disciplined. They can still have rule without feeling like we need to shout and scream at them before they can do it. And it can also be rooted in teaching, and in consistency. All of these things are very, very important. And I know that as parents, as Nelly and I have talked about this before, it starts with us. It starts with us, the parents, to actually find out that what is the way that my own upbringing was, and try to see that how can I reshape it? How can I unlearn it? What can I do differently to make sure that the children are being raised in an environment where it's conducive, it's safe, it's respectful, but yet there's still that discipline. They know that when it comes to certain things, it's a no-go area, but that doesn't stop them from actually relating on a level playing field with their parents.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's a very, very vital point, because some people think that when you have a laugh with your child, it means that you are not setting boundaries. So it's for us to become aware that sitting and having a laugh doesn't mean that there are no boundaries. You need to put those boundaries, because as a parent, you have your role. As a child, they have their role. Everyone in the house, that's where the
Mhm.
boundaries come in. Put it
Yeah.
and be consistent with it. As children grow up, it just shapes them. They know. But then when a parent starts bringing up their own insecurities, and then it gets
Mhm.
to the point where there's a reversal, where the child plays the role of the parent and vice
Mhm.
versa, that cannot, that consistency cannot be there. And then the respect is not there, because is the child a child, or is the child playing the role of a parent?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think we'll go to the next point. I think we've talked about the values, the cultural values, isn't it? We've talked about respecting elders, family unity, community responsibility, and spirituality or faith,
Mhm.
which, like for community responsibility, I think in the Afro-Caribbean community, the community responsibility is massive, because
Yeah.
we know that a child is raised by a community. But again, looking at it, the the ills are from the same community. So this is where parents need to listen to their child, build that trusting relationship, in that when a child tells you that, hey, mom, hey, dad, I don't feel comfortable with this auntie, with that uncle, with this brother, with that sister.
Mhm.
Listen to that child. You might not want to talk to that child, or you might not want to explore that immediately. But once you get home, call that child and listen. Because, like now, what is going on, trust no one with your children, because
Yeah.
we hear of very very bad things happening to children within the home. And then the parents are not listening to the child. And what saddens me is when the worst happens, that's when family members will come up, or those in the community will come up to say, oh, this was a loving, caring person. What, you know what? I really, really get upset about that, because I'm like, probably that child, that person must have tried to talk about what had happened to them, but no one listened to them because first, it would bring shame. They always say it would bring shame. But then the person who committed the act, did they not think of it that it will bring shame? Why are they putting double pressure on the child? So
Exactly.
as far as community is good, the community needs to take more responsibility to listen because like we know, safeguarding is everyone's business.
Yes.
Though we know, we say it's everyone's business, but again, the everyone is still some of the people who are committing the acts that our children needs to be safeguarded. So we have to be with an open mind. Don't undermine the concerns raised by a child. The child might not have the words to say exactly what had happened, but when they say at anything, they can say, I don't feel comfortable with this person, or I don't like this person. It's
Yeah.
not just, oh, no, no, no. It's your auntie, it's your uncle, it's your big brother. They will give us money, they will give us food. No, just listen to that child because that
Yeah.
child has a valid point.
And this thing that we were just talking about, just there was an incident that happened in our community, which of course it takes me back to this community thing. And especially in our Afro-Caribbean community, where our children this day they're even confused. Sometimes there was one time my son came and asked me, like, Mom, how many aunties and uncles do I have? Right? Every everyone you see is auntie this, auntie this, uncle that. Now, well, our children they've been taught that auntie and uncle is just more like a respect. You don't want to call them directly by their name. You're just calling them auntie and uncle just as a way of respecting them. But one thing that is important that we don't need we need to let our children know that they need to we need to guard them because when you talk about auntie and uncle, auntie is something that it's, if you want to look at them from their perspective as children, they know that your auntie is either your mom or your dad's brother or sister or a sister. Uncle is your mom or your dad's brother. So that is a direct relation. Okay. So again, these are some of the things that our children in their own head, looking at the definition, that's what they will know. But in our Afro-Caribbean, somebody that they don't even know, like in fact, just a family friend, they will still refer is as auntie and uncle. Now, this thing is very important. And when it comes to our community, we will take our children go to different homes. When we have events, different people will come into our homes. And these are the things that our children are calling them auntie, uncle, they in their eyes, they are seeing that person as my auntie, or seeing that person or other as my uncle, or seeing that person as somebody who is trusted. That is why that person has been able to come to their home. Or if we take them to them house, that means we've trusted that place. That's why we've taken them there. But like you say, unfortunately, some of these aunties and uncles are actually abusing that right of, or abusing that relationship, and going beyond what they should do. There was an incident that happened in our community where we went to, well, just like as we normally do, somebody had a birthday party, invited the community to come and celebrate with her, and then with the family, and people went there, and in the course of it, people drunk, they enjoyed themselves, they ate, and we're just going normal. But then something happened. One of these supposedly uncle was having a conversation with this our guest daughter. The person that invited us was having a conversation with the daughter. The daughter is just a teenager, right? And they was having a conversation, and that sort of thing that you see this supposedly uncle having a conversation with the child. You just assume that, okay, maybe they're just having a normal conversation. Maybe the uncle is just asking, how is school, how are you doing in school, and all of that and all of that. But surprise, surprise, they were having a different type of conversation. And this uncle was actually asking some questions which he shouldn't have asked, and going to the point of asking this child if this child has got a boyfriend. And this child said, oh no, uncle, with that innocent response, no, 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 I don't. And then the uncle was insisting, are you sure? And then the child said, no, uncle, I don't. And then the uncle proceeds further to say, do you actually have a relationship? Do you have a relationship with elderly men?
Oh.
And then this child was like kind of embarrassed, like, why should that type of question be coming to from somebody who I regard, So from that point now, the child start feeling uncomfortable. And then this person is pressing and pressing and pressing. And he's telling that child that, but you're a very beautiful girl and all of that, da 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 da. And getting to a point where he's even trying to pass his number to this girl. And then somebody heard the conversation, right? And then later on, luckily, that child comes now and tells the mom that this is what this uncle has been asking me. And it was a whole embarrassment. And as a community, the first thing that you will think is that, no, I just want to hide it. I don't want to report it because I don't want to escalate it. And then the wife to this uncle came now and is begging that, no, maybe this uncle was drunk. Maybe that's why this uncle was asking all these questions. And please don't escalate it, don't report it. Let's just handle it in-house. And the mom to this girl was actually contemplating of just handling indoor. It is the auntie now that came and said, if you don't take this thing up, me as the auntie, I will take it up to the police. Because if you don't do something, what are you telling this your child? You're telling this your child that you cannot protect the child, and you're telling this your child that it's acceptable for anybody to come into their home and be asking this type of question. What if that child took that number? Do you know what would have happened? And that's how they reported it to the police, and it became an investigation. So this just take and this is what I was saying, that these are some of the things that when it happens, we shouldn't be afraid to say it, because if we don't say it, another parent is not going to know, because we all have girl children, we have children, not just male children as well. We have those children, teenagers, and if we're taking them to people's homes, we don't know the type of conversation that is happening. And for us to be aware of these things, it keeps us alert, and it makes us to have conversation with our children at home that, hey, this is what you should be watching out for. So as parents, especially when it comes to community, we need to be alert, because like you say, there is something that is happening. There's a lot of grooming that is happening, and if we are not careful, and especially if we are raising our children in an environment where they are being fearful, not respectful, it is highly likely that if things like this happen, our children they're not gonna tell us. They're not gonna even
Exactly.
feel open to tell us,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, we really need to
Like,
be careful.
yeah, like just to talk a bit about what you've just shared. Okay, this child has an open relationship with her mom, whereby
Mm-hmm.
immediately she went and had that conversation with her mom.
Yeah,
Imagine if it were the instant where the mom would just shut off and the child would not even speak.
yeah,
And it saddens me because in the Afro-Caribbean community, these are habits that
yeah.
people have developed, and they have brought it with them into the diaspora, where
Mm-hmm.
they see that any female, they can get away with any female, they can say anything to any female, because that patriarchal system.
Mm-hmm.
I am the man. I am, and just putting themselves out there, and they think that they can get away, because similar to what you've just shared, that experience at the community at the event,
Mm-hmm.
that has happened so many times,
Yeah.
because men come and they see girls on the street, or not like street girls, they see girls and they invite them, some call them to get them a drink. And like our children in the U in the diaspora, they know that if they are under 18, they are minors. But
Yeah.
if you look back in Africa, children did not even know that they were children, because
Yeah.
as long as a man talks to you and the man gives you some money, you say, yeah. But
Mm-hmm.
these are two different worlds. And the
Yeah.
children in the diaspora, they know a lot of things, and they would tell you no. And they'll always start with their ages if they notice that someone is grooming them, they will start by talking about their ages. So you will find out that a lot of Afro-Caribbean men, they've served terms in prisons because of grooming, for example. That's what we're talking about now. Because they come and they see a child and they're like, give me your number. But here, that's a big offense.
Yeah,
So we need
absolutely.
to be mindful in communities, because whatever the ills that happens, it doesn't just appear from nowhere. It's only from the people around us in our communities. So parents, let's bring our children in the house rather than pushing them out. Create that open, trusting relationships with our children. So if they find any difficulties outside, they will come back home and speak to us instead of trying to sort it out by themselves, because they're just children. They don't know how to sort it out. And if we don't give them that opening, they will find out from people outside. And imagine how that will be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. We got the last point or
Yeah. So I think we've talked about it, building respect with connection and accountability. I think a lot of it we've talked about, like trust, emotional safety, open communication, and the willingness to accept guidance. I mean, like we learn from our children. Children, every individual knows something that someone else doesn't know, even with our children. So let's be open to learn even from our children, regardless of their ages, because they will know something that we don't know.
yeah. Absolutely. And again, just to my own last point, just to say that we as parents, we need to always have it at the back of our mind that the goal of us raising children, children have been entrusted to us. In fact, I always say it is a privilege that we've been given that privilege to raise these little souls that they're going to turn adults tomorrow and also raise their own family. And we need to understand that the goal is to raise children who can trust us, children who can learn from us, and children who can respect the values that we model as parents. And when we say that, that means we also have the responsibility as parents to make sure that we model our belief, we model our behavior, because our children, what do you say about people when your children are around you? What are the conversations that you have when you go out there? What are the conversations that you have? Are you the one that you sit and just talk about people, gossip about people, have aimless thing about, those type? These are the things that, again, we are, whatever thing is happening, they are watching us and they're mimicking the way we are behaving, because we need to be mindful that one day these children will become adult as well. And when they do, we want them to remember not just the rules that we enforce, we want them to remember the relationship that we build with them. And so, yes, children can absolutely respect parents without fear, but it is our duty to make sure that we create that environment where they can respect us without fear. And it takes learning. You may be listening as a parent thinking that, but no, this is not what, but it takes learning. And it's just that one good habit that can change everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Peggy. You've rounded it up really well. Start with one. Start
Yeah.
with one habit to change. And when you start with that one habit, be consistent. You don't need to explain to the world that you are making a change. Just
Mm-mm.
make the change. Your children will notice it, or your family will notice it when you make that change. And
Yeah.
know that change is very uncomfortable, because you will not, or those around you will have to change the way they respond to you or they do things. But be consistent over time. They will adjust. You don't need to impose it on them to change, because when you are consistent, it is natural. They will gravitate to you, and that's how you will help them to make their own changes. But if you are imposing on them, again, it goes back to that issue of trust. It's for you to do your part. You cannot change someone. You can only change yourself, though your own change can affect someone to make changes. So let's start one step at a time. Let's be consistent with that one step that we have taken. When we feel that we are getting successful with that, we tackle the next. Don't do two, don't change two habits at the same time, one at a time. One can build up at the back of the other. Be the role model.
Mm-hmm.
Model respect for yourself, for your children, for your community. Mind the way you speak to people, whether
Mm-hmm.
people you know or whether they're people you don't know, whether they're people of high positions or people with no position. We are all human beings. Don't treat people differently because they are wealthy, they are poor, they are tall, they are short. Just respect people or treat people because they are human beings, and separate identity from behavior because
Yeah.
these are two different things. Behaviors are learned, but identity is static. So we need to be making all these differences, and praise character. When
Mm-hmm.
a child does something, praise that child for the effort they have put into whatever they have achieved. They might put in the effort and fail. You still praise them, not for failure, but for the effort that they have put in that task.
That's so true. That is so true. Right. So we hope that we did share something. We hope that you learned something and pick up something. And like Nelly, I always say, we just come here and the conversation just flows, from our own experiences. And yeah, at the end of the day, we just want to become better parents, not perfect parents, because there's nothing as perfect parents. We just want to be better parents and learning every day. So, well, thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks time. And like we always say, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, by so doing you can just drop us a comment, drop us a message, and we'll always respond to you. So yeah, without further ado, Nelly, if you just kind of maybe round up and close, we close.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's always nice being on here. So we look forward to seeing you at the next session in 2 weeks. Have a nice weekend and thank
Thank
you.
you.
Stay blessed.
Stay
Bye.
blessed.
Bye.